For me, it's gonna be quite a stressful day. I'm supposed to make my own app in one day, and I'm by no means a real programmer, so it feels at this point kind of impossible. Well, we're just gonna give it a real try, because I need to have it tomorrow, because I'm gonna test it on the streets. This is for a project for school. I study design basically, and in this module I'm supposed to make an app that solves an actual problem. So we first did a lot of research to find a problem, and a problem that we found was safety at night. We specifically looked at senior citizens and asked them, would you go to someone at the other side of the neighborhood when it's like dark? And most of them said no, because of various reasons. But the point is, today I'm gonna work on my app that is supposed to be a solution. This app is gonna be an absolutely fake app. It is gonna look like it's functional, but it's actually not, because I'm not a real programmer at this point. The thing is, the point is not to make a functional product. The point is to have an idea, to solve a problem, and to work that idea out to a point that other people can see how this solution would work out. I'll be using HTML, CSS and JavaScript to code everything. No backend stuff, I'm not doing any of that. And I'll also be using After Effects, because that is a program that I'm pretty familiar with, and that I'm gonna be using to fake a lot of the stuff in the app. But the first step now is to, well, eat breakfast and do some research into senior design. Bon appetit. Personally, I often feel like skipping to the part where you actually start making the product. But I'm learning now that the research phase is just as important. It allows you to avoid wasting time when you are building, and it will probably have a much greater effect on the end product than more hours of hands-on designing ever will. The core idea here could be summarized in one sentence. You should steal to avoid reinventing the wheel, aka research. Honestly, everything works with dramatic music, doesn't it? Okay, so I've gone through the whole Google lecture on design for the senior citizens, which was honestly really interesting. Something that the teachers at my school try to hammer into us is that the design is about the people you design for, and not about how awesome your design looks. So it's not about you, but about them. And that's exactly what he said. So it's nice to see that consistency. So let's just quickly go through all the things I took from this presentation. Something that senior adults are used to, because they have been born before, well, screens and stuff were there in the first place, is that interfaces are completely visible. So what we are used to as teenagers is that, well, we can click on one thing and another screen opens, and then we can click on another thing and something unfolds and there are more options. But senior adults are not used to this. What they are used to is a television, for example, with all the buttons and dials on the front, and that is like all the buttons and dials that you can use, because there are no more dials like inside the TV. If we want to design for them, it might be a good thing to make most of the important controls like instantly accessible. Another big thing is that for elderly people it can be difficult to see different colors or like dark things. So for instance, if you put like blue on green, it is difficult to see for us, but for elderly people it's gonna be impossible. Another thing is that visual search is a lot more difficult, and with visual search I mean if you need to search on the screen, for instance for your shopping cart, we all know that it's in the top right, so that's pretty easy. But well, if you need to search for something that you don't use a lot, we as teenagers can probably find it pretty quickly if it's somewhere on the page. But for elderly that's gonna be more difficult. So the more clear we can make it, the better. What also will help with this is a minimalistic interface, so that there are less things to search through. But what we do need to avoid when making things minimalistic is progressive disclosure, which is when you tap on one thing and another menu falls out with more options that also fold out. It's important to keep it as minimalistic as possible without them having to navigate through menus. Another fun example was the pull down menu. I'll show the clip they showed in the video on the screen, because for elderly people it can sometimes be more difficult to like move properly. That sounds a bit mean. We shouldn't use these kind of menus. Another thing is that because we are born with a phone in our hands, we are used to all of the icons. To us, a hamburger menu is very clear. It's the menu, but maybe it's not to elderly people, because they needed to learn this after they were like 25. My personal opinion is that they should learn still that the hamburger menu is a menu, but what we should do is make it less confusing by not making a lot of different icons for the same thing. For instance, let's make the hamburger menu the menu and not make more icons that are also the menu. And when you apply all of those things into your development, something else should also be implemented, which is testing with actual older adults. Something else that you can do is give yourself some limitations, restrictions. For instance, wear sunglasses so it's a lot more difficult to see. And last but not least, don't mark anything as old, because no one wants to be called old, right? I've learned a lot, and what I'll be doing now is making my first wireframes on paper, probably pretty small, because this is just a really simple prototyping phase where I just make really ugly drawings to give myself the chance to actually think about where I want things to be and why I want things to be there. And well, at school they call it tinkering, because you're like thinking with your hands, and I'll probably watch some more videos about elderly design while doing that. I've done a lot more research and made a few wireframes, which was a lot more difficult than I thought it would be. I'm ready to actually start working on the app, except that I'm not gonna do that because I'm not sure exactly how to make it yet, because I have never done that. I can do parts, but some parts would require me to learn a lot of things, and I'm afraid that I've not enough time to actually get the app done for tomorrow. So what I will be doing is using Photoshop to make frames of what the app would look like and load that into Marvel, which is an amazing program that you can use to like simulate an app with screenshots. Today I'm only making a prototype, and the next step is to refine the prototype obviously, and then make the real deal, or the real fake deal, because it's still not actually functional. So I guess let's get to it. As you can see, with these types of projects, plans just keep changing. When I started putting my screenshots into Marvel, I quickly discovered that I didn't like the program at all, and I decided to switch. The program that I ended up using is Adobe XD, which basically does the same thing, but a lot better in my opinion. So I think that I'm finally sort of done for today. It was a lot more work than I thought. I've skipped a few pages, namely the settings page and report page. I'm interested to see what I'm gonna learn tomorrow when people are gonna try my app, and see if there are improvements that I can make or just stupid things that I hadn't thought about. Here you can see the end result of today. In the next video I hopefully get some useful feedback that I will try to apply to make my next prototype. And maybe we even get to do some coding. For now, thanks for watching, and until the next time.